you so much. Deep breath. Good evening everybody. My name's John and I am an addict. My clean date is May the 12th, 2017. I was fortunate to go to my first ever meeting and heard the message there, and I haven't had a drink or a drug since then. But addiction runs through me, in my behaviours, in what I do, my actions. It's still there. And I need this fellowship, you guys, and step work, and a daily reminder of who I am and what I am, you know. And sometimes it goes straight, and sometimes it veers off a little bit, you know, because life for us gets busy once we do get clean and sober. You know, I've had a busy life, you know. I live with my mother at the moment. I have a German partner who lives in Germany. I'm divorced. Both my daughters live with their mum, not too far away, and I'm fully involved in their life, which I kind of always been. Even when I was using, I was fully involved. I'd still do family stuff, and then in the evening treat myself to go down the pub. My story is alcohol and cocaine, and it's been following me around like a bad smell for the best part of 25 years, to be honest with you. Before that, it was pills and trips, and in the 90s, obviously, with raves and everything else, and nightclubs, and it's just followed me through. So, a little bit about me. I have a sibling called Susan. She's not one of us, but she's got some ways about her. And I really have to work my spiritual power around her, you know. She's very confrontational sometimes. She's a high achiever. She works in a very pressurised place. She works in a hospice. And when we do interact, I have to be mindful of that she works in a place that's very tense. She's busy, she has a son of her own, and I have to really be careful of how I react to my sister, because once I do react, it's not nice. You know, it's vicious, it's unwarranted, it's unkind. So, and also with my mother, you know, that's how it is. I'm practising at the moment. It says about defects. We'll be here to talk about step 7. And the defects around me is impatience, intolerance, massive. I don't think I've met an addict yet that doesn't suffer from that, or at least isn't working on that in the daily program. So I pray a lot. Please, can you remove it, or give me some patience, or tolerance, or show me the ways? You know, I do pray regularly every day. I normally go to work and come home, and then I'll go to the gym. I don't go upstairs to the gym, just go downstairs. I have a shower and a sauna, and I chill. And that's where I find my solace, and I speak to my higher power. It's normally at that quiet time. Early mornings is a bit tough because I'm in and out the door, because I get up early for work. I was brought up on a council estate in Thurrock, a place called Averley. And junior school was good. I was the tallest, I was the fastest, I was the strongest, I was the cleverest. It was great. So my ego was massive. I was the only one that did the 11 plus, even though I failed it. My mum and dad wanted to send me to a boarding school and pay money for that, even though they was working class people, so it would have been a stretch for them. And I said, no, you just want to get rid of me. At the age of 11. You just want to get rid of me. So I didn't feel connected, I think, to my family from a very young age, you know. And mainly because I don't think they knew how to deal with me because of my behaviours. I say that I was this at school, but there's also some behaviours that came in very early on in school. And it's only until I did some step work that I identified them. And one of them was finding ways and means to get what I want. So little Johnny's, it's 1986, little Johnny's 9. Yeah, I'm not 10 until November 86. And I'm collecting stickers in my Panini sticker album. And in my class there's a lad there who used to nick a £20, I'm sure it was a £20 note. It seems a lot of money though back then, but I'm sure it was a £20 note, could have been a tenner. And it was in his drawer, below mine, with all my work and his work. And I see him pull it in there. And I picked it up, wrapped it in plasticine, asked the teacher if I could go to the toilet. Went to the toilet, hid it behind the cistern, came back into the class and then retrieved it later. 9 years of age? Who does that? Do you know? I wasn't taught that. My mum and dad are straight, seriously straight. Annoyingly straight mother. You know, she would actually, any misdemeanour, she would happily get on that phone to anybody, the police or whatever, to see that I was punished in the right way, you know. So it was a bit extreme. Well, I had friends that mothers wasn't like that, you know. One example, when I was at school, my headmaster, my behaviour must have been that bad, and they tried everything else. The headmaster actually phoned my mum and said, would it be okay if I hit John? Which is kind of what they did in the early 80s, you know what I mean? And my mum said, yeah, go ahead, you know. So John's got called to the office and got hit with a slipper. I had a resentment for many, many, many years over that. And I think that's probably why you just want to get rid of me, that kind of rhetoric, and not feeling a bit worthless, not fitting in, whatever you want to call it. It was very odd, because adjacent to that, I mixed with two of my friends, two friends of mine, yeah, brothers. There was a couple of years between them, and they were toe rags. They come from a typical toe rag family, as I would call it, and it ran through their family. It was right, it's quite a large family, but I had fun with them. And when the headmaster hit me, like, nothing happened about it, that was it. But when the headmaster hit one of them, their mum went up and hit the headmaster. I gravitated to them people. You know, she was good to me as well, this one. During the 6 weeks holidays, she'd take me out and bowling and fantasies. It was over in Kent, water parks and that. And so I think I gravitated to them that more, because my parents were always working and they was boring, you know. I see them as boring. They weren't. They was just providing for me and my sister, and I'm trying to buy the council house and security for the family's future. So, yeah, so junior school, blah, blah. Senior school, well, now I think I'm a big fish, but I'm not. I'm a little fish in a big, big pod now. You know, no way can I bully or manipulate or anything like that in senior school. So, yeah, I became the class clown, you know, and carried on like that for a long time. And just, I was always in the top classes, but I'd always upset other children's education by my behaviours. And yeah, I was more often than not sent to the headmasters, and I'm sure I was suspended. It may sound like 9 times I got sent home. How they didn't kick me out of school, I'll never know. But then looking back, my mum did keep going up to school, kind of begging them to, like, give him another chance, keep him going, do you know? So I don't know if they were suspensions, all of them, or just like, because normally you get 3 strikes and you're out, or if it was just like, send him home, let him cool down and then come back, I don't know. I didn't do very well on my GCSEs because obviously my education was affected, but I did sit my GCSEs, and then, like, that's it, isn't it? You get into the big wide world, and what chances have you got? You know, really. I took my first drug when I was 14. Pal of mine, he was nicking. I only remember it as like a book of stamps, for example, like the old book of stamps, a lot smaller, and they was ecstasy tabs, yeah? Am I right in that? Yeah? So, yes, I went behind them, and I just remember, like, knocking on this fella's door, and we thought he was an Australian policeman for some reason, what we do with kids, and then there was a wall opposite, then went into the woods, and I knocked on his door, and I couldn't get over the wall, and I was laughing, and my mates were laughing and just leave me there, which came as a theme later on in life. Yeah, but nothing really came of that. And then drink, you know, I was around pubs and clubs from a very young age. We used to go to a workman's club in Averley. My dad played snooker and darts, so I used to follow him around. My mum played darts, and followed him around. Later on, I started playing snooker, ball darts, and on my own, going around. So you're looking at, when I was drinking and using, you're looking at 5 days out of 7, I was out in a pub or a club, either in my area or out playing in other areas and doing what I was doing, but always around drink. Even weekends, we'll come on to this bit about when my grandparents lived. It's past step 7, that got pointed out to me. And even there, we used to go there a weekend, and it'd be in this really fancy clubhouse, tennis courts around it, blah, blah, blah. And it'd be alcohol there, we'd be there most of the day, you know. It was just all around me, and it was acceptable then, you know, it was acceptable. I only started taking cocaine when I realised that I can't really drink. I can't. You know, I can't. But that taking cocaine allowed me to carry on drinking more. Gave me the confidence that I felt that I was lacking. I was able to talk. At the time, I couldn't talk a word after it got to the end of my using. I'd have one line in the toilet, on the fucking shelf of a toilet, and then come out, and I couldn't talk to people. That's where it got me in the end. So it went from being confident to think just awful. Lots of consequences. I got drink driving when I was 19. Around about that same time, I'm aware it's been recorded, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. People need to hear this. I was always kind of mixing with people that were older than me in the pubs as well, because the people at my age weren't really working, and these people were working, so I used to gravitate to them more because, listen, they're spending all my drink and drug money, these people. I can't, so I mix with older people, and I'd always kind of done that. So I got friendly with some people in the pub, and they're sitting around there, and I realised I was out of money, and I'd taken drugs that day as well, pills probably that day. And as it goes, one of the songs just came on. These sounds fall into my mind. That song came out. Yeah, that was on. I can remember it playing in the pub as I'm talking to you. It was that era. And in my wisdom, I decided to go down the woman's bag at a company that I was with and steal money out of it, steal her purse. But what I did with that money is quite extraordinary. I bought everybody drinks with it. What the fuck? Do you know? Because I felt like I didn't fit in. I don't know, obviously the drugs has part to play with it as well. So a lot happened from that. They found out it was me the next day, obviously, and I remember someone coming around my house and I told my dad, as I see the bloke coming to the door, what had happened, and he dealt with it. I think it was 40 quid I stole, but the purse didn't go back to him. I can't remember where I put it, and there was photos in there, memorable photos. Since I've made amends to them people, I made it at the time, but I remember being isolated in my home thinking the whole world hates me, everybody knows what I've done. It's such a small kind of village estate, you know. Oh my God, it was awful. But more awful for that person that I stole from. She had her memories in there and everything else. So I still didn't learn though from that. I still carried on. The stealing, it kind of can tell me from stealing, to be honest with you, from people. Yeah. Sorry, that was a bit heavy. I remember them times. Yeah, something from people. So I always wanted to try and get clean and sober, to be honest with you, but I just kept on, I'd get into relationships, I'd meet nice girls, and then the mask would drop eventually, you know, they'll find out that I couldn't deal with certain things in relationships, and my go-to was the pub. It's always been the pub. Any problem at home, when I was with my parents, the pub. Anything at work, the pub. Anything, I just couldn't handle it. I'd say happy, sad, mad or glad, that's where I'd end up. You know, because there was people like me there. Fucking other addicts, man, other alcoholics. You know, and I see that now. I pop there, I may be jumping everywhere, but I pop there Saturday to see my friend in Averley. He's got MS, and we took him out for a bit of breakfast and that, but he always likes a pint. He's indoors, we go around the old haunts of mine, and so we went to 3 of them, and I could tell you exactly who was going to be sitting and exactly where people were going to be standing in that pub. This was 7 years ago, the last time I really went now. The same, nothing ever changed. If anything, it got worse. 2 of them I just wanted to grab hold of, stick in my car and take them to rehab, you know, but they wouldn't be ready for it, and I'd probably get hurt. So yeah, it was one of them. Step 7. Yeah, so I got married eventually about the age of 30, and my wife was 10 years younger than me, and all's well. I'm all right. She's beautiful. She's intelligent. I seem to be doing well. We're renting a place together, and then she falls pregnant. Her stepfather had his own scaffold company. I started working for him, but of course, with that, it's cash in hand. It's a lot of money, it's cash in hand, and I'm around pubs again. And now I know obviously what alcoholism is and what an addict is. He was full-blown, man, and I was with him. And it didn't last long, me working with him. I couldn't handle it, to be honest with you. I just had enough. I was so aggressive, and I just jacked that and went back to engineering, what I'd already started doing. And but even though I was doing that, I'd still drive through the village on the way home and I'd see his car. He had an ML, but it was an old one, yeah. Had an old one, like 150,000 miles on it, but he'd have his personal plate on it to make it look good, typical Addy behaviour. And I'd always drive past there and see his car, and I knew he'd give me money, and I knew he'd buy me drinks all night. And that was why I'd go there, because I'm paying the mortgage, I'm paying the bills, right, he's looking after me, everything's okay, everything's cool. But my wife was indoors, you know, my two children by then, 2 young daughters. So eventually she'd had enough of that. I still did family stuff, but in the evenings I would go to a pub. And, the consequences just became too great. Got divorced, and moved back in with my parents. Wasn't that long before, about 9 months after my parents. I know my dad was severely depressed. You know, he's always worked all his life, good man. Only liked a beer in the club and always go up for a few beers and go home, blah, blah, blah. And never any trouble, never violent or anything. And he was severely depressed. And I left for work one day and he was at the kitchen table doing his crosswords he does. I think I was on a 2 to 10 shift working somewhere. He's doing his crosswords. I said, see you later. Dad says, cake in the fridge. He went, all right, son, see you later. I never saw my dad again. I got a phone call 4 hours later after I got to work saying come home, and I dashed home and there was a lot of police cars there, ambulance, firearms officers, and my dad had taken his own life in the back garden with a shotgun. And I remember it, and I was very pragmatic about it. I was sitting next to my mum, the police were there, and the next door neighbour was there, and I remember just saying to mum, we'll be okay. We'll be okay, I'm working, we'll be okay. What the fuck? That was my thing saying to my mum, you know, like, just totally gone. Because I was drinking and using so much, and just for many, many years, that was my, don't know, so I dealt with it at the time. It was carried on a little while after I was looking after my mum. I was taking her to therapy. I had therapy myself and everything else, but I was still drinking and using. You know, as soon as I'd finished what I had to do with my mum, I'd be straight down the pub. And my pals there, like a bit older than me and all that, they looked after me. You know, mate, one in the toilet for you. Are you all right? Here's a beer. You know, kind of manipulated the fact, to be honest with you as well, looking back. 8 months later, I just had a breakdown at work. A guy said that he wanted something else. He said, I'm only here for this particular job. You have to get a job sent to me. He was getting all right with me. I was getting a little bit all right with him. I ended up leaving the situation, getting in my van, and I broke down. And luckily, I phoned Frank at the time. That's all I could think of from the younger days. Phone Frank, it was a slogan. And they put me in contact with the Alcohol and Drug Service in Grays. They said, can you be here within an hour? We have an appointment for you. Someone was cancelled and I was there within the hour. I made excuses to work and I was there. There's a beautiful young black lady there that was speaking to me. Big white teeth, lovely smile. I'm thinking, she's not an addict. No way. I don't think she was. And she asked me loads of questions about my use and I was telling her the truth. And she mentioned my children. And that was a no-go area. To me, I'm a good dad. I don't use around my children. Blah, blah, blah. And I wouldn't have gone back. But as I'm walking out the door, a guy approached me and said his name was Peter. And he said, do you want a coffee? He said, you got time for coffee? I said, yeah. And we sat down in a room next door. And he explained he's an alcoholic. And he had a detached house, he worked, he had 2 daughters and a wife, and he's now divorced. Would you like to come to a meeting tonight? And that was hook. I went to my first meeting that night, came back down the address number, and I've been sober and clean, thank God, to NA and you guys ever since. And that's a fact in my higher power. What I'm working on today, where I'm at today, is obviously I did service, I did 1990 meetings, I went balls in, as they say, you know, because A, I was at my lowest I'd ever been. B, I could see there was a way out now. because someone spoken to me first minute to about acting out on emotions, and my head lifted, and I thought, oh, that's me, I'm in the right place. And it was actually someone that was homeless at the time. It wasn't one of the people, you had people there that owned their own businesses that have been clean for many years, turn up in their flash motors, all look smart, all lovely. It was actually a guy that was homeless that gave me the message where my head lifted up from, I don't know. And I always remember that. And I always share it with him and talk about him. A guy called Tony. And it's just been fairly steady ever since, to be honest with you. Obviously, life had ups and downs, but I can deal with stuff a lot better. Step 7 at the moment for me is patience and tolerance. That's what I'm working on at the moment. But it could change next week. It could be something else. It could be jealousy. Grandiosity is another one that my sponsor pointed out. I had a list of all my defects, and he said, what about grandiosity? I went, what? Oh, humble. Oh, I'm good. Do a lot of service. No. He said, every time you mention your grandparents, he said, you mention St John's Wood. You know, you've got to mention this, you've got to mention that. And I was like, oh, okay. Right. So, yeah, that still creeps in sometimes as well. I think it's more I try and say things to people I don't know if it's to impress or what. I fuck knows what it's about. There's many other stories attached to my family that, thinking back, I've been saying it like years ago. Yeah. This grounds me. Talking to you guys grounds me. Service grounds me. It's been a while since I've done a shower. And I think that's my time, Raph, yeah? Yeah, we'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, John. That was brilliant.